Thank you all for coming today. Appreciate it very, very much. I think it was 19 years ago, not quite to the day, but close, that we introduced Billy Donovan in this room, and I can remember the excitement within our program when we did that. And I tell you right now, the excitement is exactly the same. Obviously, getting Mike White to join us has energized the entire department. You saw the press conference a week or so ago, the emotions and the sadness, and you know we've moved forward. Never moved out of our heart. Billy never will. But now the excitement about what's going on and what the future is going to hold is you can feel it throughout the whole program. We started the search, probably when Oklahoma City made the change, and we researched a lot of different people, and Mike's name just kept coming up aces every time. It's amazing to me that what he's accomplished. We love the fact that he coached in this league, played in this league. Love the fact he recruited the state of Florida. He's got 5 players on his Louisiana Tech team from the state. He has done an unbelievable job at Louisiana Tech, 101 wins in 4 years, including, I think, 27, 29, and 27 in the last 3 years, conference champions, coach of the year. He's a winner. And I think that's been evidenced throughout his entire career. That excited us. But most of all, as you've heard me say a countless number of times, is a fit for the University of Florida. Someone who comes in here and understands the value of a total program, understands the value of how we do things with character and integrity. And to say his name came to the list on that score would be an understatement. Absolutely amazing, his reputation in this profession. And then when we got in front of him last Thursday, we could see he was a fit. So he brings a lot of things to the table. And as I said, he's energized us internally, and I promise you Gator fans are going to embrace him. We're very, very excited to be introducing to you Mike White. Mike?
Thank you so much. If you don't mind, let me backtrack a little bit. I'd like to. It's an emotional time for all of us, and I had an unbelievable opportunity at Louisiana Tech, and I'd like to thank Dr. Dan Renault and Bruce Van de Velde, who originally took a leap of faith and hired a guy who would never ran a practice or called a timeout, and Dr. Les Geis and Tommy McClellan. Their incredible administration was so kind and supportive to me over the last 4 years. I've had great staff members, and I'd like to thank all of my former players at Louisiana Tech that afforded my family and I an opportunity to come to the University of Florida. Dr. Kent Fox and Jeremy Foley for this unbelievable opportunity. I couldn't thank you more. It's such a pleasure to join such a prestigious institution, a top 10 public university in this country, and the most Googled university in the world. I'll be using that one a lot. That's pretty cool. Also very fortunate to be a part of this athletic department, an athletic department that's won 34 national titles, including 16 in 8 different sports since 2006. An athletic department that's finished in the top 10 in the national all-sports rankings in each of the last 31 years. Absolutely amazing. By the way, we wish Tim Walton and the defending national champion softball team luck in the NCAA tournament this weekend. Lastly, very fortunate to inherit such a successful and proud Gator basketball program. A program that has won 3 of the last 5 SEC championships, won 2 national championships, has been to 5 Final Fours, has won 4 SEC tournament championships, and has produced 11 first-round draft picks. It's an absolute honor of mine to replace Billy Donovan, one of the best coaches in the history of this game. I have tremendous respect and admiration for the legacy that he leaves, and it's my charge to continue the momentum that he's maintained for an amazing 19 years. As committed as Dr. Fox and Jeremy Foley are to the academic and athletic excellence of this institution, I will be equally as committed to our Gator fans and family to maintain the national reputation of this program. In doing so, we will continue to recruit talented players with high character that best represent UF and develop them on the court, in the classroom, and in the community. We will continue to recruit nationally, but the state of Florida consistently produces some of the best talent in the country. So I'm eager to continue building relationships with coaches in our home state. I also very much look forward to connecting with former Gators, as I know how crucial they've been to all the success that that Coach Donovan has had here. I'm extremely eager to work with, extremely eager to work with our current players. I've met most and have been really impressed with them as people, as young men. I'm anxious to be a part of their continued development. In closing, it's an amazing blessing and an honor to be here today. We were committed, my family and I, Kira and I, and our 5 kids, to staying at Louisiana Tech until something really special presented itself, and this is certainly special. The strength in the University of Florida brand name and an opportunity to work with Jeremy Foley, his staff, and its culture make this extra special. Looking forward to getting Kira and the kids down as soon as possible. We left the kids in Ruston with Kira. They're locked in the house with her, so they didn't ruin this press conference. And when they get down, we can't wait to entrench ourselves in what we hear is just an unbelievable community to live in Gainesville. I'd love to answer any questions if I could.
First of all, welcome to Gainesville.
Thank you.
Kevin Brockway, Gainesville's son. You had opportunities last year, Tennessee, Missouri. What made this opportunity in particular kind of feel right for you?
You know, Kevin, I've dodged committing to talking to certain institutions in particular, but we have had interest. My wife and I, because of the success that we've had, and it's been flattering. We've been courted by some really good institutions and some really good athletic directors. Timing is of the essence, and we've had some family issues with adding to our family in the past that has always been a little bit of a factor. But the biggest factor, again, is just us being patient for the right one. And it's amazing how God works, you know, and how it's ended up where we're in a place that my wife and I have dreamed about being at a place like this for a long, long time. Us both being from Florida. Her really growing up and living her entire life in Florida until college, and again with the opportunity to work with Jeremy and his staff, this is it's an amazing opportunity.
A lot of people around college basketball have talked about your style being similar to Billy Donovan's in terms of wanting to get up and down tempo. Do you anticipate still there being a little bit of a transition, though, and how do you think maybe the players will be receptive to a little bit of that, and how maybe will you be different in some ways than Billy Donovan?
Well, sure. Let me first say that anyone who's comparing us to Billy Donovan in any way, it's an absolute compliment. I'm not sure how much we play like Florida. I guess we'll find out a lot more about that in these coming months as we get a chance to go back and watch a lot of film. Just as Coach Donovan was entrenched into this team and the process for this team to make strides next year, so was I with Louisiana Tech here until a few days ago. So very, very new to all this. It'll be educational for me, you know, over this next time period to figure out what we have and how to best serve these student athletes and how to best play.
John Zuper, New York Times. Dan Renault said when you took over the Louisiana Tech job that one of the first things you did was give him a book that had a 30-day plan. And I'm wondering if you did the same with Kent Fox or Jeremy Foley, and even if you didn't, what are some of the major things you want to accomplish within these next 30 days?
I actually, as Jeremy and his staff left my house the other day, I handed them a packet with a first 100 days, a little bit different after gaining a little bit of experience at least over the last 4 years. Priority number one is really just getting to know these guys in the back of the room, starting to develop that relationship so I can best learn how to help them, and that's my charge more than anything as your basketball coach, is to figure out how to help them be as successful as possible. Obviously, we want to hit the ground running with recruiting, and then I'd like to get a chance to meet people on campus and figure this whole thing out a little bit. And
what about putting together a staff? I know it's got to be important for you, and potentially bringing over some coaches that you had
right
at Louisiana Tech.
I've got a terrific staff. It's one of the reasons I'm standing in front of you, and I have former staff members that moved on that I worked with Louisiana Tech as well, and 3 of them are here with me now. Jordan Mincy, Darius Nichols, and Kyle Church, who all do a terrific job. And Dusty May is left behind interviewing for that Louisiana Tech head job. He's very, very well deserving, a terrific, terrific coach, a great person, and we wish him the best. If he doesn't get that job, we have a place for him here. In the meantime, we're surveying the landscape.
Yeah, can you just talk about any trepidation you might have had about following a guy like Billy and a guy who built such a legendary resume over 19 years?
Didn't have any whatsoever at all, and that's one of the first questions that Jeremy asked me. And my answer to him was I would absolutely embrace the opportunity to follow a legend and to learn really from a lot of the people that helped him along the way. From what I understand and from what I'm starting to understand in person is that the administration here and the support staff of the basketball program in all facets is absolutely incredible. And I've had a chance to talk to Coach Donovan a few times here in the past few days, and he blows these people out of the water when he talks about them. He's obviously very endeared to these people. We have a very, very talented group of administrators and support staff, and so I'm just anxious. I'm anxious to work with all of them, and again, it's more of embracing the fact that you have a great job that Coach Donovan has built. I think it was a good job when he got here, and now it's a great job.
Were most of your conversations with Billy about personnel?
I would say personnel and also the other people that surround the program, the people that are really important to him. I think, obviously, he wants to see the University of Florida continue to be really successful. He'll continue to be a great resource, and I'm extremely appreciative because I know how busy he is.
Mike, Larry Vitale, welcome to Gainesville again.
Thank you, Larry.
You mentioned recruiting being a high priority. The first priority there is recruiting the recruits, the 4 kids who've already signed.
That's right.
Have you reached out to them? Could you give us a sense of where those young men are from your conversations?
Yeah, all 4 we've reached out to. I've met a couple in person, and these couple Florida guys I look forward to meeting with this week. We've had a bunch of positive feedback. I don't think we've had any final answers yet. I'm not into begging. I think this place, to a certain extent, sells itself. I think all 4 of these guys obviously chose University of Florida for a lot of the right reasons, really all the right reasons. Florida sells itself. This institution sells itself, but they want to play for Coach Donovan, and I understand them having second thoughts. I understand that. I appreciate it. I accept it. And if those guys want to be here, I'd love to have them. And if not, we'd love to help them find the right place for them.
And what do you know about the roster you're inheriting?
I know, I guess, a certain amount from just having a chance to talk to Coach Donovan again on the phone, and just going back, remembering 4 or 5 games that I was able to watch last year on the SEC Network. I know that we've got some talent. I know that in talking with them one-on-one over the past few days, I think we've got some really good people, and Coach obviously confirms that, as do our administrators. So if any of these guys signed to play here again for Billy Donovan at Florida, they're good players. Obviously, they're good players, and we need to figure out how to best help them and continue that development that was taking place until now.
Is it Mike or Michael, first off?
Either one, depends what type of mood you're in.
Okay. Does what recruiting philosophy, you've signed a lot of guys from Florida, how important is it keeping the best guys from state, but also what's your kind of scope, I mean, kind of from your experience?
Sure, I think at the University of Florida we can recruit nationally. I think you can get involved with kids in all 50 states. I think that in the past that this basketball program has proven that. But I also understand how important it is to recruit our state, especially a state that's as fertile as it is. And I've always enjoyed recruiting this state, not only because I liked traveling to Florida, but because there's really good players here. And we're not going to get them all, but we're going to recruit them all.
Yeah, Mike Bianchi, Orlando Sentinel. You grew up in the state. Before Billy Donovan got to Florida, there'd never been any sustained success at really any basketball program in the state. Why do you think that is, and what makes you think that you can continue to have sustained success?
Of course, he's really, really good, and over the next few years, really hopefully few months, I'll be able to become more educated on why he was so good. I think the national reputation for Coach Donovan is that obviously he's very, very smart. He was a terrific recruiter. I think that he's also, in watching his teams over the past decade or so, 2 decades, I guess, they've been really, really good with skill development, because I know guys just continue to get better under his watch over time, and he's had a lot of guys that have gone on to make a lot of money playing basketball that weren't necessarily that good when they got here. So I know he's had a lot of talent, but he's also, him and his staff, I think, have been great with skill development, helping guys get better.
Coach Joey Johnston, Tampa Tribune. I know you were born in Dunedin. How old were you when you left? What schools did you go to, and what are your memories of Florida? Were there much? Were you young when you left?
What's funny? Good question. I was 2 weeks old when I left. 2 weeks old. I got a great
Scratch
story
that
for you.
question.
I'm gonna get this story out of the way. My wife's probably watching. Sorry, Kira. I know you're embarrassed. 2 weeks old, we move, and as I'm growing up, as sort of an Army brat, is the best way to describe it. Because as a kid, you get into, hey, my dad's an athletic director. What's an athletic director? All right, my dad's military. I finally just started telling my classmates, my dad's military. And so we lived everywhere growing up. And a few times during my childhood, I'd ask Mom, hey, where was I born again? Dunedin, Florida. Where is Dunedin? And never knew, obviously, never went back to Dunedin. And I met my wife at the University of Mississippi, as she was a volleyball player there. We met, and she was from Dunedin, Florida. And incredible how it all works out. And she grew up here, of course. She is just as excited, if not more excited, to come back home. It's just a really special opportunity.
She went to Dunedin High School?
She went to Clearwater Central Catholic. Yep. And I didn't go to a day of school in my first 2 weeks, I don't believe. You might have tried to get me out of the house, Ma.
Okay, so the memories are short from Florida, but you seem to have this relationship with kids and coaches.
Yes.
How did that develop, and how do you see that moving forward? How do you want it to build?
And I'm glad you gave me another opportunity. I was born here, really never lived here, but it's funny that our family has always found a way to come back. And I bet you out of the first 16, 18 summers as a kid growing up, we found our way, our extended family, whether it's my mom's brothers and sisters or my dad's brothers and sisters. Somehow we would find ourselves in Florida just about every year. And my parents actually bought a place on the East Coast about 10 years ago, and it's become where all of us, and it's a big family. There's about 100 of us on the beach over there on the East Coast. So we've always been drawn here. My twin boys, who are 5 years old, were sick when I told them that we were moving, that we weren't any longer going to be Bulldogs. I told them this the other day. And Jeremy had left some Gator hats, and they loved the Gator hats. And they were sporting them around the house, but they didn't like that we weren't going to be Bulldogs. But when I said we were moving to Florida, they turned quickly. They turned quickly, especially when we talked about the beach, and we talked about grandparents, and we talked about Mickey. And they were sold. They're ready to be down here immediately. I'm not sure that they're ready to be Gators yet. We still have to convert them, but everyone in the family is excited about living in Florida without question.
And your relationship with the coaches and kids here, how do you develop it, and how do you see it building? How do you want it to develop?
Well, I think that relationships just build over time through connecting, through phone calls and texts and emails and relationships with some of their players, and we certainly expect that to continue. I've been able to coach both at Ole Miss and at Louisiana Tech Florida kids that have been very, very successful. This is obviously a different conference; it's a different level, but we hope to tap into some of those relationships and continue to build more.
Welcome to Gainesville, Coach.
Thank you.
SEC has brought in some great coaches this offseason, Ben Howland, Avery Johnson, just to name a few. How excited are you to go up against guys like that?
It's really exciting. I mean, it's a terrific league. It's always been a terrific league in all sports, but basketball's made a jump, and really basketball in the SEC made a jump last season with the additional teams in the NCAA tournament, and really a couple others that were right there on the bubble. So it's a league that continues to build its basketball brand, and I'm excited to be a part of it.
Coach, with a family that's all in administration, was there a time that you considered going that route? What was it about coaching that kind of made you go away from the family business?
You know, my dad tried to talk me out of coaching early on, but it really it's as a lot of coaches will tell you, it's not work to me. It's a passion. It's been a lifelong passion. I love the game. I love being around it, and to be paid for what we do it's like stealing.
I was going to ask you something about scheduling and what are the odds of a Florida Duke home and home, seeing how you have some connections.
Should we put him on the spot right now? That would be incredible, of course, and we'll take a swing at it. In terms of scheduling over the next couple of years, I know we'll be leaning heavily on Mike Hill, and I'm not real familiar with who we're playing right now. I'm not familiar with even where my office is or how to get to campus, but we'll figure those things out here over the next couple of weeks.
Coach, another question about your dad and your family ties and stuff. Just how competitive was that household growing up? With two brothers that were in athletic administration and a dad that used to send you faxes when maybe you weren't playing well at Ole Miss and stuff.
Really competitive household, to say the least. All of us were in athletics. We were all athletes, and there were 5 of us cramped up together as we were moving across the country several different times. We're a very, very tight-knit family. But especially the middle part of the siblings, if you will, myself and my 2 younger brothers, we're pretty close in age, and we'd battle in football, soccer, basketball, what have you, but we had a lot of fun.
And 4 years at Louisiana success, obviously had a lot of good regular season success, and then maybe a few slip-ups in conference tournaments. How do you reflect on that? Do you look at it as maybe some bad luck, or do you look at things that maybe you could have done differently in those situations?
Yeah, as you go back, there's always some things you could have done a little bit differently, and some of it is a missed free throw, a made free throw, a missed block out, a poor transition, defensive possession. But that said, it's very, very difficult, not only for Louisiana Tech in Conference USA, but other teams in that league and other mid-major teams in mid-major conferences that aren't producing more than one NCAA tournament team. It's tough, and I don't want to call Conference USA a one-bid league because I thought we were on our way, and I thought Old Dominion was really, really close, and we were a little bit behind them in terms of fighting for an at-large, and the year before we were right there on the bubble for an at-large. But it's a league that I'm proud to say that I coached in, and I think they'll get to the point where they can be multi-bid. But that said, for right now in the one-bid leagues, it's just very, very difficult. The margin for error is so small, despite going 15-3 and being as consistent as you can possibly be. 2 years ago, despite winning 18 consecutive games and getting in the top 25, in those situations, you better win 3 in 3 days or you're out of luck.
Coach, I know you just talked about how Conference USA, it's tough to make the tourney, but I want to take you back to your introductory press conference at Louisiana Tech. You mentioned that Renault said, quote, Alexander the Great was the same age as you. When he conquered the world, the least you could do is take us to the NCAA tournament.
That's what he said.
That's what
I
he
didn't
said.
say that,
I know,
as you know.
That, yes. He said that.
Yeah, put me right on the spot before our first press conference. That made me feel real at ease.
Right.
Thanks, Dr. Renault.
So I'm just wondering, do you still consider your time there a success, even though you didn't make it? And do you still feel like you accomplished your goals there?
We accomplished 99% of them, an absolute success. We had 11 student athletes that exhausted their eligibility under me, and 9 have graduated, and the other 2 will graduate hopefully by the end of this quarter. Louisiana Tech's on a quarter system. We had 9 all-league players. We won 3 consecutive championships. We rejuvenated the fan base. The the Thomas Assembly Center in Ruston has become a really, really tough place to play. We've won 49 out of the last 50 games at home, which out of the last 50 is number 1 in the country. I keep saying we. I still feel a part of it, but now obviously I'm excited to be a part of the O'Connell Center and the home court advantage here. But absolutely, it was a tremendous success. I apologize to Dr. Renaud that we couldn't get back to the NCAA tournament, but now my focus is on helping the Gators get to the NCAA tournament.
And also going back to just after your playing days, I know you talked about how you tried out some internships at some, quote, big companies, and I was just wondering what those companies were, and was there a time when you were there, because I know you mentioned it was like Wall Street kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Stuff very different than what you're doing now, obviously. So was there a time where you had an aha moment, like, I can't do this anymore, I need to go back to basketball?
Yeah, if I remember correctly, and we're going back a ways now, I did, and Pops, you could probably help me, but he had a couple buddies. There was a big donor at the University of Maine that owned Dexter Shoe at the time, and we went up and I worked for Dexter Shoe Company for a couple weeks, and it was quite the experience. Had a great time. It was educational. And then a really close friend of my father was on Wall Street, and I actually, I forget the name of the company, but I ghosted him, if you will, for a week. And this was probably, I don't know, 19 years old, half of a lifetime ago. But those were great opportunities, but those opportunities also taught me what we talked about earlier, that basketball is my passion, and it's what I wanted to do for a living if I could.
So technically, were you a shoe salesman for 2 weeks, or?
Sales went way down. I don't know what the heck I was doing. I was just in people's way, really, but they were gracious to give me the opportunity.
My apologies. I'm Gene Fournette from the Times-Union Jacksonville. My question to you is, what do you consider a fair expectation for Florida basketball right out of the gate?
Yeah, I'm not sure I can answer that question. I'm sorry. I think that's for everyone else to decide. I guess what I'm most focused on is just getting better every day, being really competitive, doing our job, helping these guys in the back of the room develop their skills and represent this university the way it deserves to be represented. We're going to play hard. We're going to play fast, to a certain extent. We've got to figure out what's in this roster's best interest. And off the floor, we're going to do the things we're supposed to do. We're going to act like men, and we're going to represent this athletic department as well.
Thomas Goldkamp, 24/7 Sports. I'm curious, what was kind of your calling card as a player?
Probably more than anything, fouling. I was a really good fouler. I know Jeremy stood up here, was it a week ago today, Jeremy? And you said you were looking for a coach who played about 53 games in the NBA, right? And I thought to myself, I didn't tell Jeremy this in the interview, it probably would have knocked me out, but I think I averaged about 5.3 points a game at Ole Miss. That 53 is somewhat similar. Probably about 5.3 fouls a game too, but they only called 3 or 4. I played hard. I played for a guy named Rob Evans, who I love dearly, who's outside of my parents is probably my biggest mentor, who really built Ole Miss from absolute scratch. When I got there in 1995, I say when I and my better teammates got there together, we had 0 at-large bids in the history of the school, and we earned 3 straight. Coach Evans did it the right way, did it with great kids, and we defended and we rebounded, and we found ways to win close games. And he was a great evaluator as well. So what I did was just try to stay on the floor by not turning the ball over again, and get that ball to the right guys, to Ansu Cisse and Keith Carter and Jason Smith and Jozon Darby and those guys. In fact, Jozon, it was either a buzzer beater or it was really late in the game at a win at Florida is a memory that I have playing down here. I can't remember what year it was. I need to look it up, but we had a great group.
And then I guess, is there anything more that you can kind of draw from that now that you're going to be coaching in this league?
Oh, probably more than anything in coaching in this league, would be the relationships you have with the recruiting base more than anything. Scouting is scouting, and coaches and programs and players have all changed. There's been turnover through the years, but I guess the pride of being in the SEC you have to have, obviously, to compete against some of the best coaches and best players in the country. But my experience here will probably, hopefully, we will benefit more along the recruiting lines as much as anything else.
I'm sorry to bring up potentially a bad memory from your playing career, but were you on the court when Bryce Drew hit a shot?
Oh, wow. I accept your apology. I was not. I had front row seats. I had probably made a couple dumb plays, and I was on the bench. And that was a tough moment there because we were having a great year. In fact, I want to say we were ranked maybe in the top 10 at the time, and it really finished strong. And that was supposed to be our year. That was Coach Evans' last year before my father stole him from me at Arizona State. Just a tough memory, but I wasn't happy for Bryce at the time, but I still am happy for him. What a great guy. When I see him on the road at some of these recruiting events or Final Fours, coaching conventions, I always say, I still hate you, Bryce, but you're a heck of a guy.
Coach, what is it going to be like coaching against Andy Kennedy for the first time in SEC play?
Whoa, good question. I should have been prepared for this one. I'll have to look up, of course. He's a big dude. Andy's a big dude. It'll be exciting, really. It'll be probably emotional a little bit, just going back and thinking about how much he helped me, really, how much I learned from him and continue to learn from him just by watching his teams play. He's a winningest coach in Ole Miss history. He gave me a great opportunity to coach under him and work under him. And it'll be rewarding. It'll be rewarding, and I guess at some point when we go back to Oxford, it'll be extra emotional at that time.
And then it's well documented that your father is the AD at Duke. So I'm wondering, has Coach K ever given you advice?
He has. He's on several occasions. He's reached out, and I've got some great memories. Some that I could probably share, and some that I'd like to keep private. But we've in a small amount of time, we've been able to really develop our own relationship from afar. I know him and my father are very, very close, and growing up in this business, just like you idolize a guy like Billy Donovan, and you try to emulate a lot of things that he does as a coach and as a recruiter. And you're always tuned in to watching them as much as possible. Same goes for Mike Krzyzewski, obviously, one of the greatest coaches in the history of all sport. So for him to reach out and give guidance and advice at different times has been incredibly humbling, to say the least.
Coach, being a former point guard, what's your philosophy on point guards? Do you look at them as facilitators or scorers, and how hard are you on them?
I would say I'm a little bit harder on point guards than the other four spots on the floor, a little bit more demanding. I'd like them to take more of a leadership role than anyone else, at least vocally during the game. I think leaders can be different in different ways. I also know how crucial it is to have really good point guard play, and I've been around really good ones. I played with some good ones. And then over the last, ever since I've been in coaching, I don't know how, y'all would know better than I, it's been a blur this week. I think I've been coaching about 15 years or so. And I would say just about every year we've had an all-league point guard. I don't know what the stat is on that. In the last 4 years, obviously, I've had a special point guard in Speedy Smith. I hope he's watching. I owe him a lot of thanks. He was an incredible player, incredible leader for us. He's a guy that I think should be drafted next month. It's not up to me, though, but I think he can play in the NBA, and a guy from Boca Ciega in St. Pete, right down the road. But point guards are very, very important to the success of your program, and I look forward to working with ours for sure.